Hey everybody, I just clocked off. Got a big NHL trade to discuss. Quinn Hughes has been traded to the Minnesota Wild, a team that was kind of not on the radar in terms of teams that were looking at him. There was a lot of smoke around Detroit. There's a lot of smoke around New Jersey, obviously, because both of his brothers play there. But no, he goes to Minnesota. He was traded for Zeev Buium, who is maybe the best defensive prospect in the entire league. Minnesota also sent out Marco Rossi, who is a nice young center, probably a middle of the lineup center on a good team. And they just signed him to a contract, so he's got 3 years of term. They also included Liam Ogren, who is kind of a depth winger, and a first-round pick. Looking at the teams that were directly involved in this trade to start off, let's look at Minnesota to start off with. They now have about as good of a 5-man lineup as any team in the league. They can put out Boldy, Eriksson Ek, and Kaprizov up front, with Hughes and presumably Brock Faber on the blue line. I'm guessing that those two are going to play together. I think in the last few years we've seen a lot more teams kind of adopt that strategy of putting out your kind of killer 5 when you need a goal. It's not new, but I think I have at least noticed teams doing it more often. I think it started with the Oilers. The Oilers had been very opportunistic and very successful in the playoffs the last couple of years with putting out McDavid and Draisaitl together along with another winger, whether that was Kane or Hyman or Nugent Hopkins, and then putting those 3 out with Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm on the blue line. I've noticed the Avs do this a lot as well. The Avs they're just so lucky, because for us it's just our normal top line and our normal top pair. For a long time that was those 5 players were the top 5 players in the league in plus minus. It's leveled off a little bit since then, but McKinnon is still way out in front of the pack. So I think this is an interesting development in that sense. I think you're going to see more teams start to do that as well. Dallas can put out a really good lineup as well if they go, Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen, along with Heiskanen and Harley on the blue line. Vegas can do this as well if they put Eichel and Marner together on the same line. Minnesota looks a lot more dangerous in the certainly in the near term. It's a heavy price to pay, but it looks like they're going to be really, really good. As if they weren't already really, really good, which they are. Specifically, they're a great defensive team. Hughes is going to give them a little more juice on the offensive end as well. So this is a big win for them, and it's a big loss for Vancouver. Vancouver they are just a disaster right now. They won their division 2 years ago. Went to 7 with Edmonton. That was a good series. That's can't really get too upset about losing to them when they made the Cup final that year and then did it again last year. But yeah, since then, their coach is gone. Their captain is gone. One of their assistant captains has been traded, and now he's a captain in New York. That's JT Miller. So, this is just, I don't even know what to say. This is just a mess. They have a lot of really good players. They have a lot of players that I like. They have a lot of draft assets now. They have a lot of young prospects who look promising. But they've had a lot of good players for a couple years, and it just hasn't worked. So I don't know. I don't know if that belongs to the organization, if that belongs to Elias Pettersson. But it's just bad. It's just a bad situation up there. Moving on to kind of bigger picture stuff, obviously the comparable trade from last year was the first Mikko Rantanen deal. The Rantanen deal happened at the end of January last year, but both that trade and this trade happened pretty quickly after a Board of Governors meeting, and the calendar this year is thrown off a little bit because of the Olympics. So in both cases, the timing is pretty analogous, and in both cases, the teams are going to have a good 6 weeks or so with the player before the trade deadline to kind of see how the fit is, see if they, if they like the team, if they like the direction that they're going in, or if they need to look to move on again. And of course, that's kind of an interesting angle on this as well. Rantanen was expiring last year. Hughes has another year on his contract after this one. So that partly helps explain the price. Looking at the Rantanen deal, it was, at first glance, it looks like they gave up more. They traded Nietzsche, Drury, a second, a third, and a fourth. The second and the fourth went to Colorado, and the third went to Chicago. But Carolina also got Taylor Hall back, and they didn't have to take on all of Rantanen's salary. Chicago held 50% of his salary. They retained it. That is the technical term that I was looking for. So, if you compare that to, a middle of the lineup center prospect on a good contract and an awesome defensive prospect and a first round pick, it's not quite the same. Nietzsche looks awesome in Colorado. He's last time I checked, he was tied with Rantanen in points and had one more goal. Rantanen also has kind of been loading up on power play assists to support his scoring numbers. But at the time, Drury is a bottom six center, right? So he's been a really good fit in Colorado, but that's not a huge price. And then Nietzsche has been really successful in Colorado, but by all accounts, he was not happy in Carolina. He clashed with the coaching staff. I think he was kind of tied down a little bit with their style, kind of similar actually to what happened when Rantanen was there. But yeah, he's very, very creative, a little bit floaty, likes to go off script a little bit, but he makes up for it with his speed and his talent. So I can see how that rubbed Rod Brindamore the wrong way. So, it's a trade that has worked out better. Like the gains that Colorado has made from the trade, I think, are greater than the cost of the trade to Carolina. And then, of course, 6 weeks later, Carolina was able to flip Rantanen again and get a whole bunch more stuff. They got another winger who was a really good fit there with Stankoven, and they got 4 more picks. So, it worked out well. I would expect that Minnesota's going to want to keep Hughes. But as I mentioned before, Detroit really wanted him. New Jersey really wants him. He has a good relationship with Rick Tocchet, who is the coach in Philadelphia now. So if they don't think that Hughes is going to re-sign, if they don't think he's going to sign an extension next year, they would be able to get a similar return for him, especially considering that, New Jersey in particular would have to give up players because their cap situation is really tight. So they'd be able to get stuff back if they decided that this wasn't a long-term fit. And also, I think if it's a rental, I don't think it's that bad. Even if they hold on to him until the off season, the league is wide open this year. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Florida, because they're still missing a lot of key players. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Edmonton. They just traded for a new goalie, and they shook up their blue line a little bit as well. And this is also the last year for Minnesota before Kaprizov starts his crazy new extension. So it makes sense to kind of push your chips in this year. And, I mean, especially like, this is kind of the last thing that I wanted to bring up as an Avalanche fan, but I mean, the Central Division is so much better than the rest of the league. I mean, arguably the top 3 teams in the entire league are in this division. So, I mean, if you can survive the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, I don't want to say that you're home free after that, but I mean, from Minnesota's perspective, like, they won't have a harder opponent in the playoffs probably after they get, if they were to get through Dallas and then, heaven forbid they were to beat the Avalanche, like, those would be the 2 hardest opponents that they would play, unless Florida looks really, really good when they get everybody back, which is not guaranteed. So this is as good an opportunity as any to go all the way in. I got to rant a little bit about the playoff format here too, just because the Central Division is so loaded. I mean, you can't, obviously you can't change the rules based on one season, but I mean, I don't think anybody wants the best series in the playoffs to happen in the first round or even in the first 2 rounds. And that is exactly what looks like it's going to happen this year with the current playoff format. I mean, I think Colorado will hold on to the 1 seed in the Central. Please do. But I mean, assuming they do, that Dallas-Minnesota series is going to be brutal. And then Colorado playing the winner of that series is going to be brutal too. And I just think, I think that the best teams, you should want the best teams to advance farther in the tournament. Whatever tournament it is, that's fair. It makes for a better product. Because the last couple of years, I mean, the finals have been awesome, and the middle rounds have kind of stunk. The 2 best series in the playoffs last year arguably were in the first round with, Winnipeg versus St. Louis and Dallas against Colorado. The year before that, there was an awesome first round series with Dallas and Vegas. So I don't know. I just think it would be unfortunate if the 3 best teams just cannibalize each other all at the very front end of the playoffs. But again, you can't change the format based on one season. But I do think that doing a crossing over the divisions rather than having to play through your division and then advance after that, I think that makes more sense. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I still have faith in the Avalanche. I still think they're the best team in the league. But this Minnesota team looks like they're going to be good. I think this is going to work out for them. We'll see. We'll see if there's if Hughes gets moved somewhere else. We'll see if we get some NHL tampering allegations. That would be a fun little wrinkle. But yeah, smart deal by Minnesota. Can't be too mad about it.